Hello everyone, this is Brittany with Redeemable Junk, and I'm here today to show you guys the latest journal that I just finished. I am in love with this journal. There's lots of authentic ephemera that I have used in this, vintage ephemera. The front is an authentic cabinet card that I used of this gorgeous little girl. Look at her. And down here it says, she is clothed with strength and dignity and laughs without fear of the future. I added a button and a safety pin, a little flower. There's some doilies behind it. The spine has that on it, and the back is old vintage paper. So let's get started. She has lots of dangles on the bottom. I'm going to show those off real quick. See how all these hang off the bottom. So let's open her up. So on the inside we have a round tag that says Just Believe, and inside it is a authentic real photo postcard of these three darling little boys. It's a fabric pocket. It says Just Believe. We have a doily hanging off of it. Over here it says Believe to feel sure of the truth, and I just have an inventory tag inside of it. I collaged some old 1800 paper onto it with some cheesecloth and a button. Over here we have a bingo card, an authentic vintage bingo card with some vintage fabric that's hanging down off of it. And then this is just an advertisement card that I added in it for a tuck spot to journal on the back of. Over here we have, and I love this, I thought this was so awesome. This is an authentic prescription card, and it says Faithful on it. You see that? Faithful Prescription Work. That is the name of the pharmacy, I guess, with this little girl. Then over here we have a music sheet with an addition card, and I added a fabric ruffle with some vintage lace and a button on it. And tucked inside of it is this. It's from the 1909. This is not authentic. It is a replica, but there is tons of authentic stuff throughout this entire journal. So I added that to the tuck spot. Over here we have some vintage writing paper with some lace. And over here we have a vintage doily and a vintage button. I just thought that was so cute. And inside is just an advertisement card that I included in it of this little girl. On the other side we have a tuck spot back here. And we just have this picture of this little boy. Over here we have a fabric pocket with a key hanging down and a tag and some vintage lace. And again, this is just an advertisement card that I included inside of it. Over here we have a glassine pocket. It is a pocket over here on the front as well as inside. And inside we have this French document. Let's see, from 1868 it looks like. We have part of a prescription over here with a button and some seam binding and some vintage tatting. Over here we have a ledger, part of a doily flower with a safety pin and a button, and I used some of that prescription to make a little tab. Over here we have another beautiful image of a little girl with a flower. Over here we have an authentic check, and it looks like I covered up the year on it. Anyways, it's from the early 1900s, and I added this beautiful little with vintage cloth and a ruffle and a button with some cheesecloth. And behind it, we have an 1886 receipt from the state of Missouri. Now, all these tuck spots don't have stuff in them, but I really love this. I came across a prayer notebook, and this is the authentic. It says prayer, "Oh Lord, how good thou art." And I used the authentic paper from it. Added a little girl, and it's a Glassine bag, so you can add whatever you want in it. A lot of these tuck spots I left empty, so you could add whatever you wanted to it, or the owner of it could add whatever they wanted to it. This is an authentic report card from 1937 for Barney Bernard. Looks like he was a decent student. I added a cluster down here with a button and some fabric, some vintage fabric. The other side of the vintage ledger. This is some vintage paper that I added to it. Another part of a vintage ledger. This is an authentic, I don't know the year of it, but it's from the Albert Dickinson Co. Seed Merchants from Chicago, Illinois. And this is an authentic pocket that I got in the mail. And it is authentic and it's old. Down here, I just love this. I added this vintage metal button with some seam binding, some cheesecloth, some vintage lace, and you can hardly see it, but there is a crown right here. Let me see if I can get it on a safety pin. A crown, a rusted crown. And I love that because this is a prayer journal, and that just shows that you are a daughter of a king, and I really love that. Over here, this is also an authentic advertisement card, and it's from a threading company. I did stamp Faith, Hope, and Love onto it, but it's 3 children. I just loved it. I tucked in this portrait of this little girl with Santa into it. Over here, we have some more vintage ledger paper, and it says abide, continue without fading or being lost. And it again has some lace and a button on it. This is out of a vintage, this is some Bible page. And I did add 2 pockets to it. And this is the center of the first signature. I love this page also. Okay, guys, this is a picture of this little girl. And I have some ruffles down here. I added a pearl to this little flower. Down here it says, let your faith be bigger than your fear. And it's held on with a safety pin. We have some vintage lace. Look how beautiful that lace is hanging down off of it. Oh, I just love it. I fell in love with it. This journal altogether is so beautiful. It has vintage lace on the sides of them. Here says, laugh as much as you breathe, love as long as you live. Don't you just love that? Over here we have a side tuck spot. And again, you'll see there's children all throughout this entire journal. It's just very pure, something pure about children. I loved it. We have a flower down here with a button in the middle. We have the 1800 page document that I used, some cheesecloth. Over here is the other side of that mini ledger, and I just added a flower to it. Over here is the other side of that flower page. And again, I added a, and I love these buttons. It is a metal vintage button with a safety pin, and this just hangs off as a tab. The other side of the ledger, so there's plenty of writing room in this journal. Here we just have an altered CD holder that I made. It has a flower on the bottom with some ruffles, a button over here. Over here I just made a side tab, and I used an inventory card to hang off the side, some seam binding, a little doily, a safety pin. Over here it says Jesus is dearer than all, and we shall see the King. It's just some vintage music sheet paper. Here it says pray, wait, trust. They said there's plenty of journaling room in this journal, as well as lots of stuff to look at. Over here we have a side pocket made out of a coffee filter. I made this heart. I hand stitched it out of some vintage fabric that I had. I put a button in the middle, some cheesecloth behind it. And then we have from the China Soap Company an advertisement card that I just tucked inside there. Over here is the other side of that bag. And again, I used that vintage fabric, some lace, some cheesecloth. Inside, I just included these buttons. Inside of it, a button card. On the other side is a pocket. This is an auction lot number. I used it, and I just created a pocket. Over here's some school book paper. Over here, I believe this is a tuck spot. Yes. This is an authentic advertisement card also that I used. I can't read what it's from, but I just loved it. I turned it into a tuck spot. Tuck spot behind it. Like I said, There's tons of authentic ephemera throughout this entire journal, making it one of a kind and very unique and special. Over here it just says live in the moment, and this is the end of the first signature. We have a pocket, a fabric pocket right here with, oh, my brain doesn't work half the time, with a snippet strip across it, and this is the second signature. Over here we have a guest check that lifts up so you can journal underneath it. It has a button and some fabric, some vintage fabric behind it. This is an authentic airmail, I don't really know what to call it, envelope, but this is authentic. This aging right here on this tape is authentic. I added this wings down here with the butterfly, and inside of it is an advertisement card of some sort that just pictures a cross and some people at war. I just added that to it. Over here, and I love this. Now this is a tea bag, and it does come untied right here. I'm not going to untie it. Inside is a few pieces of some surprise stuff. Nothing really big, but like I said, it does come untied, and the tea bag does open up, okay? So the owner of it can do that if they would wish. Here we have some orchestration paper that's vintage with some lace. For here we just have another little cluster with safety pin and a button and some seam binding and a doily. Over here we have a fabric pocket that I made. And inside of it is another piece of French. It's a French letter. I can't read it because it's in French. Just say 1891. Over here we just have a craft bag. This darling little girl, some sari silk, a flower, some vintage lace behind it, some cheesecloth, and inside it I just included this copy of an advertisement card. Over here is just another Bible page, and on the other side of it I used a layaway tag from the shop, and I took the top of it off, made that into a tab, and made this into a tuck spot. Over here I did a cluster with a vintage button, some lace, some sari silk, some seam binding. Over here we have just a smaller piece of paper with just this little girl on it. Behind it has some vintage prescriptions that I clustered onto it. You can see. And then you can, some room for you to write over here. This is a pocket that I made that's made out of vellum. And there's a pocket up here and a pocket, oh no. I hope that didn't glue together. There we go. And a pocket down here. Here it says pray, wait, trust. And then over here is just a page of, it looks like it's in French, and it's some type of receipt. On the other side is one of these envelopes that open up like this, and there's a pocket right here. And it says redeemed on the bottom and faith up on the top. We have an Ode Ledger page right here. Over here we have a side pocket. It does open up so you can journal underneath it. It's a hidden journaling spot. And I just included an advertisement card in the tuck spot of it. And it has this beautiful flower on the bottom of it. I just thought that was so pretty. Over here it says every day is a gift from God. And you're getting ready to see, I left these next few pages blank so they could be written on. We have some vintage paper, some more vintage ledger paper, this awesome coffee stained paper that was gifted to me, and then the other side of those 3 pages that I left blank for you to write on. Over here is a blank page. I used a tag, a price tag. I made a tuck spot out of it. Over here is an authentic 1939. It's from the post office department. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's some type of postcard. I'll show it to you guys. And what I did was I made a little dangle out of it. I added some seam binding, a button, some cheesecloth. Over here's the other side of that vintage ledger paper. This is another piece of authentic. It is from, let's see, 1929, from a place called Hamburgers in Los Angeles. And it is some type of pocket to put a receipt in. It is super neat. It is a tuck spot, but you got to be very careful with it because it is very old. Over here is the other side of that French receipt. Here we have a Glassine bag of this adorable little boy. There's nothing in it, but you can put whatever you would like in it, with some vintage lace on the side. Over here is this Fearfully and Wonderfully Made. Here's another piece of Victorian. So this is 1800s. This is a Victorian scrap that I got, and as you can see, the cross in the middle of it, I thought that was so pretty. This is some vintage doilies that are behind it. It's cloth. I wish the camera would show you just how gorgeous that really is, because it's very beautiful. On the other side of it, I just used some music sheet paper and this little girl with some cheesecloth. The other side of the Bible page. Here we have the other side of the craft sack. I just used some vintage, like this is 1935, some vintage paper. I just put this little boy on it. Inside of it is another French document. I cannot read it, but it says 1876. See if I can fold this back right. I don't know how it was folded. There we go. And I just have that in there. Over here I have a belly band. And I'm going to show you guys this up close because it's super cute. This little girl with some lace, and this little boy and his dog, and some buttons. Over here it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Over here we have a cloth pocket with a vintage stamp of a flower, and I just added some sari silk behind it, and I attached it with a clothespin. This is the other side of that vintage ledger paper. And here we have the other side of that orchestra paper. I added a tuck spot up on top. I added some more wings to it. It's lined over here, so you can add what you want. And to end it, and I love this, worry ends where faith in God begins. And that is the last page of it besides this. I just really love that. Here we have another edition card. That's a tuck spot. We have a pocket right here. It's held on with a vintage, or it has a vintage doily and a vintage button. And over here is a library card. This right here, this paper is authentic from either 04 or 24, from Chandler's Furniture and Rug Home and Furnishments. And I added that on the back of that. And it's authentic paper with a vintage library card and a holder. And that is that. I hope you guys enjoyed this flip through. This journal is very vintage. It has lots of authentic ephemera in it. So I haven't decided if I'm going to keep her yet or sell her, but if I do sell her, whoever gets her is going to be very lucky, because this is a very, very beautiful journal. Make sure to check out the description box below. I have some information there, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day.